Hello, this is Irma Baker. Welcome to our show. We're sponsored by RSVP, the Retired Senior Volunteer Program, which is a part of Mature Services. We like to think of our show as a kaleidoscope. We offer you a constantly changing array of interesting individuals, organizations, and activities in our viewing area. We'll be right back with today's guest after these messages.
RSVP of Summit County has been making a difference in our community since 1972. RSVP volunteers are increasing the quality of life by participating in programs and organizations that provide important services to the community. RSVP matches personal interests and skills with opportunities to serve. If you're interested in adding more meaning to your life and improving the lives of others, please call 330-253-4597, extension 166.
Welcome back. Our guest today is Professor Tucker Jolly. He is a professor of music at the University of Akron, and he is the director of Tuba Christmas. Professor Jolly, thanks so much, or should I call you Tucker?
Call me Tucker.
All right, Tucker, so nice to have you with us today.
My pleasure.
I'm hearing wonderful things about this thing you do called Tuba Christmas. What in the world is it?
Well, it's going to be a long answer, but we'll go. Tuba Christmas is an idea that was conceived by Harvey Phillips, who is the former professor of tuba at Indiana University. And he had studied in New York with a man named William Bell, who's sort of the granddaddy of tuba. He was a fabulous player and teacher and person. I had the good fortune of actually working with him in a summer camp for a couple of weeks. And Mr. Bell died in early 1970s, and Harvey Phillips wanted to do something to honor his teacher. And so he came up with the idea of having Christmas carols played by the tuba ensemble, which is baritones, euphoniums, tubas, all the members of the tuba family. So he decided that that would be a great way to honor him because, for one, Mr. Bell was born on Christmas Day, and two, he loved the holiday. It was just great. So he thought that'll be a great way to do it. Well, the first thing he needed was music. And Harvey Phillips was a very close friend of the wonderful composer Alec Wilder. Alec Wilder had written all kinds of mediums, some popular music, and was pretty well known. And he called Alec Wilder and said, you know, I need you to arrange some Christmas carols for a tuba ensemble.
So it would not be standard to have a tuba arrangement of music? That's
not
just
at that
something
time,
done?
you know, certainly not of just Christmas music. So if we wanted to do it, we had to have it done. And when he asked Alec Wilder to do it, Alec said, you know, well, he just lost a dear friend, and he said, I'm really not in the mood to write anything. He said, well, you don't have to write. I'm just talking arrangements. But he said, think about it and give me a call when you feel better. Well, he evidently got Harvey out of bed early the next morning and said, I've done 19 of them. And those Christmas carols are really the basis of Tuba Christmas, because unless we have the music, we don't have anything. And so then he arranged to have the first Tuba Christmas in 1974 at the Rockefeller Center in New York City. And they sent out notices to all the schools and people that played tuba in that New York area, and they had a few hundred players show up. And
now, are these all professional musicians?
No, it comes from every part. We have students who've only been playing a little bit. We have all the way through professionals. So it's every walk of life you can imagine. It's a very diverse group. And so he got the group together, and he told me when they first played the first carol, which is O Come All Ye Faithful, he said, we played that, and I said, oh, this is something special. That's what Harvey told me. And so from there, that concert, the music got out, and then people could buy it from Harvey, and we started doing Tuba Christmases. I lived in Connecticut at that time, and I didn't go to the first New York Tuba Christmas, but a student of mine sent me the music, and I really liked it, so I did a couple of Tuba Christmases in New Haven. And the same way that I did, a few other people picked up on the idea. So when I came to Akron in 1980, I wanted to do something that would give me a chance to meet a lot of the players, the band directors, the community at large, to know that this is who I am, and I'm now at the University of Akron. And so I thought, well, let's do a Tuba Christmas. And I sent out notices to the schools, all the schools in the area, and all the people that I knew that played it. I invited Ron Bishop, who was a tubist with the Cleveland Orchestra, to come down and do a little presentation. And we had about 55, I think, players show up, and which was pretty large, and we thought, hey, this is great. And the location that we had that year to do it was Cascade Plaza. Cascade Plaza is a nice place. It's always windy. And even in the December day that we had, which it was in the 40s, which is not terribly cold for Ohio in December, it wasn't pleasant in Cascade Plaza. So I said, let's see if we can move this thing inside somewhere. And I managed to get it, a man at Quaker Square named Michael Lapidus. And Michael was in charge of promotions and publicity, et cetera, at Quaker Square. And he said, I'd love to have it. So we did it at Quaker Square. And that year, the next year, about 90 players showed up.
Now, when you say 90 players showed up, didn't you have like a formal registration and all that kind of stuff?
We registered the day of, we rehearsed the day of, and performed the day of.
So this is a one-day, this is it, all in one day.
Deal. Well, for lots of reasons. One, to try to get people that can come to a rehearsal and then come back to a performance. That limits the number. And two, the music isn't horribly difficult or anything, and so it's just easier for everybody if they just show up, we rehearse, and then we perform. So we were at Quaker Square, and back, if you remember, in the early 1980s, Quaker Square was the place to be in this area. And so people, some came to the concert. We had about 250 people at that first concert on Cascade Plaza. But a lot of those came to Quaker Square, but many more people just walked by and thought, what's going on? And so it was fairly successful, and so Michael said, well, next year we need a little bigger location. At that time, there was sort of a little staging area off a hallway, and 90 players barely fit in there. And he thought, if this grows, we need to be bigger. So we went to the lobby of the Hilton, and we had about 120, 130 players. And the lobby was just absolutely packed with people. So then he moved it to the ballroom. That year, about 185 players showed up, and the ballroom was packed, the lobby of the Hilton was packed, the hallways were packed, and he said, I can't do it here anymore. It really pained him. He loved it, and we loved being there. So we had to find another location. And we couldn't really, the players pay a registration fee, and we don't charge admission, so there's really no budget for it.
Wait, let's back up there. Yeah. You just said the players pay
to be in this? They pay a registration fee that goes, Tuba Christmas was designed with something that the players are going to give to the community. That was the idea of it. And so the players pay a registration fee, and part of that...
Is it very expensive?
No, it's not. The registration fee is not expensive anymore. At that time, it was $5, and that included the book and a pen. You got the song book and you got a pen. Now, the $5 includes the pen, and the songbook is all the way up to nearly $20 now. It's just the way print costs have risen. So yeah, the players actually pay a fee.
But the audience doesn't.
The audience
now, doesn't have to pay to come to this performance.
They don't have to pay. It's a free event. We do pass the hat to defray expenses, but anybody can come, and if they don't have anything, then that's fine. We don't care. But we just want people to be able to come and not have to worry about tickets and not have to worry about paying an upfront fee. So it's a gift to the community. So we were looking for a place, and the director of the school at that time, Mr. Frank Bradshaw, managed to get us into the lobby of E.J. Thomas, and it didn't cost very much, and he covered the cost from the School of Music. So we went into the lobby. Have you ever been in the lobby of E.J. Thomas? It's tall. It's a lot of concrete. It's a lot of glass. You can still hear Tuba Christmas in the lobby of E.J. Thomas Hall because of the reverb. So it wasn't an ideal place. But at that concert was Ron Siroyd and Patty Eddy. Patty was the manager of the Civic Theater, and Ron was involved with the board of the Civic Theater. And they said, we think this would be wonderful at the Civic Theater, and we would be willing to, give you the theater and that's where we started passing the hat, because we had the theater and people could help the theater and us. So we went to the Civic Theater, and it grew and kept growing to the point that finally we did 2 shows a day because we couldn't get all the people into one. And finally we actually, for 1 year we had to move from the Civic because the Civic was being renovated. So we did it at the Jar. And in that one performance we had about 500 players and 3,500 people. So when we went back to the Civic, we had 600 players that year. And we had probably anywhere between 700 and 1,000 people could not get into the first show, and several hundred couldn't get into the second.
How do you fit that many players onto the stage at the Civic?
You don't. We're sitting in the seats and the rafters hanging from chandeliers. I mean, you know, that was a problem. And that gets me to our location now, which is E.J. Thomas Hall.
But you're not in the lobby now of E.J.
No,
Thomas
we're
Hall.
on the management at E.J. Thomas said, you know, we'd love to have Tuba Christmas, and it was getting to be logistically very difficult. And we were turning away a lot of people at the Civic Theater. So we had 2 advantages with E.J. Thomas from just a purely logistic standpoint. From a ambient standpoint, the Civic is wonderful. You walk in there, you feel nostalgia. It's great for singing Christmas carols. I mean, it's wonderful. And I must say, the whole time we were there, we were treated wonderfully by the Civic. So it had nothing to do with that. It had to do with, at the E.J. Thomas, that stage is big enough that we can get 500 players on stage.
Now, I'm thinking you're talking 500 players. Now, every one of these players has some big musical instrument.
Well, a pretty good size one. They range from small baritone horns, you know, or euphoniums, which are the smaller instruments that you see, to some very big tubas, to sousaphones. And so, anyway, we moved to E.J. Thomas because we can get them all on stage. And then that gives us, there's a few more seats. There's about 300 more seats or 400 more seats in there. And also we didn't have to take any of those seats for players, which is what was happening at the Civic. So logistically, it's been great. And we've had wonderful audiences. Although the first year we were there, I thought, I don't know if this is an omen or what, we had a major blizzard on the day of Tuba Christmas, and I thought, we're not going to have anybody. But there were 300 players that came through a blizzard, 350 of them. The first audience was 1,700, the second was 800, and we're talking a major blizzard.
In the middle of a blizzard,
in the middle
you had
of a blizzard.
over 1,000
and I thought,
people coming out.
Well, I walked on stage that night and looked out and said, you guys are nuts. I mean, you know, but it has that kind of appeal, I guess you could say. And I think it's the reason for it is manyfold, but where do you go anymore and sing Christmas carols in a large group? The spectacle of it, just seeing that many people come, I think, initially just to see what does that look like, you know, 400 or 500 players.
Well, you know, you're talking about seeing it, and I'm thinking the pictures I've seen of Tuba Christmas, where did this idea of decorating the tubas come from? You
know, I never suggested it. It's just some players did it, and then others saw it, and then it sort of took off. There are some groups that try to determine, you know, who's the best decorated tuba and so forth like that, and that's great. I haven't done it just because we have so many, and I don't even want to begin to get into that. But yeah, it's an amazing sight to see. And one of the things we do during the show is a lot of these guys are wired. Some of them are actually plugged into an AC outlet. Others are battery packed. But we go to complete black house. And when you see that, the audience doesn't go, oh, they go, ah! It's really funny to see. It's a very exciting thing.
Well, when we're talking about decorating the tubas, we're talking about strings of light and tinsel and glitter and blinking and flickering and just anything you can think of.
One guy managed to put a fireplace on the front of his sousaphone. And it had the fire coming, the whole thing, fireplace on the front. I've seen snowmen, I've seen, you know, Santa Clauses. Lots of people will dress up as Santa, and we've had one gentleman that comes that you'd swear that's him. You know, he has the real beard and the real hair. I mean, it's like that. So it's taken on a giant community get-together, sing along, and celebrate the holidays. And some people have told me, you know, I don't feel like I've really gotten the Christmas spirit until I come to Tuba Christmas, you know, and it does have that effect, I think, on folks.
You mentioned something a few minutes ago. You raised the question, where do you go today to hear Christmas carols?
Or to sing them together.
To sing them together,
yeah.
yes.
You know,
because I'm thinking, you know, you hear them starting in early November. They're in the department stores, you know, coming over the loudspeakers. The radio stations on Thanksgiving, they start playing nothing but Christmas carols. You're so sick of them by the time you get through it, and it's nothing but that canned music. What you're talking about is a live performance that has all this energy and all this spontaneity with it.
That's right. That's what makes the difference. And there's a whole bunch of difference, I think, to listening to a carol that you've heard 8,000 times with some canned commercial arrangement and sitting there singing it with, you know, 2,000 other people. You know, Silent Night just doesn't sound the same over a Muzak as it does when you have 2,000 people singing with 500 players accompanying you.
Oh no, not when, you know, the people on both sides of you are singing. The music is coming from the stage. Everyone around you is singing. It creates its own synergy.
It does. And tubas, people think it's loud. It's not loud. Thick, yes, but not loud. But because of that, they can hear themselves sing. It's not like there's some funny things now on the net, for internet now, that one of them is called Why There's Not a Trumpet Christmas, and it's got a bunch of trumpet players playing as loud as they can. And that's not fair, because they're really fine trumpet players, but nevertheless, it's like, if you had a trumpet Christmas, they'd all start playing as loud as they could, you know. But the instrument does have a nice quality to it to sing along with, and I think that's why it has succeeded as much as it has.
I think a lot of the arrangements too are probably in keys that the normal person can sing.
Yes and no.
Oh, tell us more.
Sometimes, well, some of Wilder's arrangements are, and some of them is a little tough, and you can hear people, you know, fighting it a little bit, because some of them he put there because he wanted the tubas. He wasn't thinking so much about singing along. I did a few, and I tried to keep them as close to the original key as I could, and because I knew that would be a problem. But it's one of the problems we deal with a little bit.
So you're actually using those original arrangements, or close to those original arrangements?
No, we're using that same songbook has been used since 1974.
1970. So we're coming on, what is that? Almost 40 years?
Yeah, on that.
Soon it'll be 40 years. So then you just had your 30th anniversary. Well, you're wearing a 30th anniversary shirt there from 2009.
And you know, and I think this year it'll be 32nd, 32nd Tuba Christmas in Akron.
Now, you know, how did you get involved to begin with? I mean, you just didn't happen to pick up a tuba because you thought tubas would be nice for Christmas. You obviously have a background in this.
Oh, sure. Well, in high school, I took up the tuba. I had played piano, and they started a band in my hometown. It hadn't had a band in about 15 to 20 years, and the band director there was a real Pied Piper, and he looked at kids and that he thought would be good for the band program, and at the time, my parents affording an instrument wasn't a possibility, you know, and so he said, well, look, we'll furnish a school instrument, and so I took up the tuba, and I had some success with it. Having a piano background meant I could already read music, so I went along pretty quickly with it, and I got into all-state bands and to this and that, and the instrument just was a real opportunity for me. It's created so many wonderful opportunities, and Mississippi has a great all-state band program, and in the summers they send a band to wherever the Lions International Convention is, called the Lions All-State Band, sponsored by the Lions Club. And with that organization, I went to Europe, to California, to Florida, to the New York World's Fair, all of those places, you know. And so it just seemed like to me, well, this is a ticket, you know. And I went to college as a music major. I was a music education major at first, but I managed to get a job playing tuba in Texas full-time when I was 19. And then, you know, I did that, and I finished my degree at University of North Texas, and then I had to go military, so I was in the United States Coast Guard Band. That's how I got to Connecticut. And then I lived in New Haven, played in the symphony and a brass quintet that toured nationally. And then I wanted to get off the road, and so I came to the University of Akron to teach in 1980.
Well, that was really, when you say all that background that you have, I mean, you're a small-town Mississippi boy.
That's right.
It's not something you probably, or your family ever thought, oh my gosh, we're going to see him directing Tuba Christmas
No.
30 years from now.
Neither them nor me. No, certainly not. But my parents were extremely supportive, always. You know, I can remember I was in college, and this was draft time, and when I got the job in Texas and called my mother and said, I'm dropping out of Florida State and going to Texas to play a job, you know, she gulped hard and said, you know what you're doing? And I managed to get a draft deferment for a semester, and then I had to be in school full-time as well as play the job. But no, I couldn't have ever imagined it. And when I started Tuba Christmas, I would have never, ever imagined that, one, we'd be doing it 32 years later, and two, that we would be attracting the sizes of audiences that we attract. I mean, last year it was probably 2,800 people at both performances.
Where is your performance this year, and when is it?
Okay, this year the performances are at E.J. Thomas Hall, and the times of the performance, well, it's on Saturday, December 17th, and we play at noon, and we play again at 2:30. Players, if you want to come and perform, all you need to do is come that morning. We register between 8:30 and 9:30, and then you rehearse at 9:30. You play performances at 12 and 2:30. There's a $5 registration fee. You need roughly $20 for the book. There are hats, scarves, and other things if you want to bring more. But all players are welcome. Doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter how you play. With 500 players, if you can't play the part, there's somebody that play that part for you. So come and participate. It's a lot of fun.
And as far as the audience, does the audience just show up?
Audience just shows up. People will call me and say, can I get tickets? There are no tickets. It's first come, first serve. When you walk in, we will hand you a ticket, but that's simply a head count device. So there are no tickets, no reserved seats. We do, if you call the management at E.J. Thomas, they can help if you've got a handicapped or some special need. They can help with you, but as far as advanced seats, there are none. Just come that day and do it. We used to tell people, you know, come to the second show, and last year was because the first one would always be packed. Last year was the first year they were pretty equal. So I can't tell you now what the history has been. It's easier to get into the second show, but last year you could get into both, but they were pretty equal audiences.
And what is the capacity at the theater?
2,900.
2,900. So you get almost 3,000 people in each performance,
Yes.
and you actually, well, I can't say sell out because nobody buys
Yeah,
a ticket,
right.
but you have a standing room only type of crowd.
Last year was the first year we didn't have to turn anybody away at the first show because people finally got the message and came to the second. So we didn't have to turn anybody away last year, but we have in the past, yes.
Well, how would people get in touch with you if they'd like to know more information from you directly?
Well, they can simply call my office, and they'll get me or a voicemail, and I will get back to them. That's 330-972-6641. Or they can email me, and I'll tell them the email, but if you go on the University of Akron website, you can find me, trjolly, TRJOLLY, uakron.edu. And so either way, you can get in touch with me.
Well, that's wonderful, and we wish you all the best with this year's performance.
Well,
it just sounds like it's a wonderful way to get into that holiday season.
It really is, and as I say, it's a family event. The kids don't have to sit on their hands. They're singing. We do jingle bells, and people have started bringing their own jingle bells and so forth. So it's not. You know, I think the only thing the kids get a little bored with is me yakking, but other than that, they'll have fun.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I've certainly enjoyed learning about Tuba Christmas, and I'm sure our viewers have too. And we do hope that you'll take advantage of this opportunity in our local area, and we thank you for viewing our show today. We do hope you'll remember our sponsor, RSVP, a part of Mature Services. And RSVP offers adults 55 and older a lot of volunteer opportunities here in our local community. For more information, just call the number on the screen. For RSVP TV, this is Irma Baker saying goodbye for now.
Since 1971, RSVP has been matching volunteers' talents to community needs. RSVP is affiliated with the Corporation for National and Community Service, a national organization that supports service and volunteering through grant-funded projects. Volunteers organize neighborhood watch programs, tutor children, renovate homes, plant community gardens, assist victims of natural disasters, and serve their communities in many other ways. RSVP offers maximum flexibility and choice to its volunteers as it matches the personal interests and skills of Americans 55 and older with opportunities to serve their communities. If you're interested in adding more meaning to your life and improving the lives of others, please call 330-253-4597, extension 166.
Distribution of this program has been made possible through the generous support of the Kaler Law Firm. At the Kaler Law Firm, attorney Jim Kaler helps seniors and veterans who need long-term care keep some of their life savings in the family. For more information, visit www.protectingseniors.com. The mission of the Kaler Law Firm is protecting a senior's life savings.